My cousin Sera and I were both given to the dragon court. I went to the firstborn, Aldric. She went to the second son, Dorian. A year later, Sera bore a white dragon, while I came out, 9, ugly, malformed, nothing resembling a dragon. The Dragon King cared deeply about appearances. He named Dorian his heir on the spot. Aldric, in his fury, handed all 9 of my children to the Phoenix Court as blood catalysts, me along with them.
If I marry Sera, the throne will be mine.
I couldn't survive the shame. I walked into the sacred flame and let it take me. He didn't know. Sera was hybrid. I was pure. My children had been ugly because they took after him. When I opened my eyes, I was back on selection day.
Aldric, Dorian, the Fox clan has sent 2. Each of you choose.
I understood immediately. I had been reborn. This life, I could not let Aldric choose me. But as I stood there scheming, Aldric walked past me with a look of distaste and pulled Sera forward instead. I understood immediately. Aldric had been reborn too. I reached for Sera's hand, shook my head at her. The Dragon King wasn't a tyrant of these things. If she refused, she could go home. Sera yanked her hand away.
Lyra,
Satisfaction dripped from her voice.
don't tell me you're jealous that Aldric chose me.
The Dragon Court passed its throne the same way most courts did. Bloodline first, then birth order. Aldric and Dorian were both sons of the Dragon Queen. Aldric had precedence. Sera was blinded by the crown she thought she could see. I cursed her silently for a fool, then let her go. If Aldric took Sera, that left me with Dorian, except Dorian refused on the spot.
Father, I'm not ready for a consort.
I blinked, touched my face. I really wasn't that bad. Fine, go home. Find a fox-blooded man who actually deserved me. I was pleasantly imagining exactly that when a figure stepped out from the back of the hall. He wore a mask. 2 short horns curled from his brow.
Brother, did you forget I haven't taken a consort either?
Brother? Was this Caele, the Dragon King's youngest sibling? Rumor had it the Dragon King doted on him, had even once considered naming him heir. But Caele was wild, unpredictable, refused to take consort or sire children. The idea was shelved. He hadn't appeared in my first life at all. Caele strolled toward me, easy and unhurried, his dark eyes fixed on me.
Brother, she's beautiful. You let your sons choose first and didn't think of me? Hardly fair.
The Dragon King called him an insufferable wretch and waved his hand. I was given to Caele. Aldric, still holding Sera's arm, couldn't resist.
Uncle, don't let her face fool you.
Caelen's fingers locked around my wrist. His dark eyes sharpened instantly.
Who I choose is not your business.
Caele brought me to his quarters, no intention of removing the mask, not even that night, alone together. What surprised me more, he had no intention of sharing the bed. He placed a folded blanket down the center of the stone bed, divided it precisely in 2.
You sleep on the inside. I'll take the outside.
I sat there clutching my blanket, genuinely confused. Dragon men were known for their appetites. In my first life, Aldric had been relentless. Illness didn't slow him. My discomfort didn't slow him. Was Caele perhaps unable? He seemed to read my thoughts. His expression cooled.
I married you because I pitied you. If I hadn't, do you know where you'd be right now?
Aldric had planned to have me killed again. He wasn't going to marry me, but he wasn't going to release me either. The moment I stepped outside the Dragon Court unattached, I would have been bound and delivered to the Phoenix Lord as a gift. Aldric carried memories from our first life. He knew the Phoenix Lord wanted me. He intended to use that. The thought of what the Phoenix Lord did to the women in his court made me cold all over. That cold fear turned quickly into hatred. In our first life, Aldric had bled my 9 children dry. He had cornered me into the flame. Now, reborn, he still wasn't finished. How could something so brutal claim the right to rule? The thought followed me into sleep. Dawn. Caele pulled me up to pay morning respects to the Dragon King. I was still yawning when we arrived. Aldric and Sera were already there, composed, impeccable. Sera looked radiant. Her legs were shaking slightly. Marks on her neck, a great many of them. I winced. That must have been brutal. Aldric was rough even when welcomed. For Sera's first time, she probably needed help getting out of bed. She caught my expression and mistook it for envy. She tugged her collar and leaned close.
How was your night, Lyra? Word is, he didn't touch you at all.
I glanced pointedly at her inner thighs.
Worry about yourself, Sera.
She drew back with a huff.
Enjoy it now. Wait until the king finishes with you.
Sure enough, the Dragon King's voice came cold and measured.
Caele, explain yourself.
Caele looked entirely unbothered.
Thought she was interesting yesterday. Changed my mind by evening.
The Dragon King hurled his crystal goblet into the courtyard.
Disgraceful.
After the morning audience, the Dragon King summoned me privately. He wanted to know what had actually happened. I told him I'd been too shy. He studied me for a long time, told me to give Caele an heir soon. then sent me on my way. I returned to find Caele waiting, frost in his eyes.
What did he ask you?
I told him everything. He was quiet for a moment. Then he told me to avoid private meetings with the Dragon King going forward. If anything came up, redirect it to him. It only deepened the mystery. The dynamic between these two was as unreadable as the mask Caele never removed. Before I could untangle any of it, news swept through the entire court. Sera was with child. A golden light surrounded her belly. Aldric was beside himself. He invited the whole court to witness at dawn. I was invited too, of course. Sera opened with a performance. She dropped the dragon pearl on the floor and smiled at me sweetly.
Lyra, I'm carrying dragon young. Could you pick that up for me?
She was barely a month along. She could bend perfectly well. This was theater. The court watched with amusement. Aldric joined in, implying I was a pretty bird who couldn't lay eggs. I was about to respond when a sharp gust lifted the pearl, knocked it against Sera's face, and dropped it neatly back into her hand. Caele lowered his wrist. He looked at Sera with no particular expression.
Did you lose the use of your hands?
Sera burst into tears against Aldric's chest. Aldric, humiliated, redirected me.
Uncle, she only asked her to pick something up. Why the outburst? Lyra's pretty, I'll give her that. But she can't even carry a dragon child. You're the only one who sees anything in her.
Caelen's response was immediate.
She's beautiful, at least. The two of you are ugly and useless. That puts her ahead.
Aldric went white, then shifted into dragon form. He looked ferocious. He fought like a beginner. Caele played with him, barely tried. The court watched Aldric crumble under what amounted to light sparring, and the question moved quietly through the room. Was this really the man meant to be king? Aldric stopped before he could lose more thoroughly. He grabbed Sera and walked out.
When my white dragon is born and takes the throne, none of you will be laughing!
Gone before anyone could point out he'd forgotten entirely about the golden light he'd summoned everyone to see. Aldric didn't forget slights. He waited until Caele was away and came for me. He wove mist across the back courtyard, trapping me on the hillside, called wind and rain down until I was soaked through and shaking. Only then did he appear. He looked at me, drenched, and something greedy moved across his face.
Lyra. He still hasn't touched you, hasn't he?
He came toward me. I backed up. He seized my wrist.
Your bloodline isn't quite right for a proper consort, but a secondary one? That could work.
I slapped him. He grabbed me by the throat. I couldn't breathe. Then he let go. Even now, Caelen's name keeps him from going all the way.
When he finds out the only things you can produce are malformed little monsters, let's see how long he protects you. You're a low clan princess, Lyra. When that day comes, I'll crush you like nothing.
He didn't know. The clan he despised was about to ruin him completely. I cast my glamour. Between one breath and the next, we were standing in front of the Dragon King's council chamber. Every word Aldric had just said had fallen on the Dragon King's ears, and the ears of every allied clan lord present. The Fox clan was low-ranked, yes, but they were under Dragon Court protection. What Aldric had said amounted to announcing, in public, that the Dragon Court held its subject clans in contempt, not something a future king could afford to say aloud. The Dragon King's crystal scepter cracked against Aldric's knees.
You have deeply disappointed me.
Aldric hit the ground. His shoulders trembled. The Dragon King stripped him of his privileges and confined him to quarters. The heir presumptive, favored of the court 1 hour ago, became invisible by afternoon. I had won cleanly. Caele was furious.
Do you understand how dangerous that was? What if he had actually killed you?
He'd figured it out, of course. I had used an enchantment to lure Aldric in deliberately. Revenge, yes, but also self-preservation. Aldric wasn't going to leave me alone regardless. Better to move first. I hadn't consulted Caele because he didn't know about my first life. He looked at me, soaking wet, and couldn't bring himself to say much more. He exhaled.
Don't do something like that without telling me. I'm your husband. Protecting you is my responsibility.
Something warm moved through my chest when he said it, something I hadn't expected. Time moved quickly after that. The night Sera went into labor, a storm rolled in. Lightning, black clouds, golden light pouring off the palace walls. The court's ritual seers declared it the sign of a golden dragon's birth. The Dragon King got out of bed and went to Sera's chambers to wait. I wasn't going to miss this. Aldric's bloodline wasn't pure enough for a golden dragon. If that light was real, it wasn't his. Sera labored all night. Dragon young were large. She screamed until dawn. Then the screaming stopped. The child was not brought out. The Dragon King went by himself. What followed was a silence somehow worse than the screaming. Then came his order.
Seal it. Tell no one.
Word leaked anyway. It always does. Sera had delivered something golden. It was not a dragon. A one-clawed golden serpent. A common golden serpent could, with enough medicine and time, be coaxed into dragon form. A one-clawed one could not. Too weak. It would never transform. And across its face, a large, dark birthmark. Ugly and unmistakable. The Dragon King took one look and left without naming it. The Dragon Court hadn't seen a birth to this poor in over 1,000 years. In my first life, Sera and Dorian produced a white dragon together. Sera and Aldric produced this. The bloodline failure was obvious. Aldric's own lineage wasn't as pure as he'd always believed.